Hello, welcome along. It's 11:35 on a Saturday morning, Saturday the 19th of November. Look how wet it's been. It rained so hard overnight. Everything's just waterlogged again. So I thought I'd bring you along today on a bit of a ride out, and we'd go and do a bit of a review, a long overdue review on Jimmy the Hemi. Tell you a bit about it, what I think about it, and how I'm finding it after, how long have I had it now? A couple of months, month and a half, something like that. Just about cracked, how many miles have I just about cracked? 1,000. Yeah, I've just cracked 1,000 miles, my first 1,000 miles on Jimmy the Hemi. So around town then, we're just heading into Grantham now. How am I finding the little Hemi in town? Well, absolutely fine. In fact, a little bit heavy, 199 kilos. Well, depends on which website you look at, 185 or 199, so take your pick. Either way is a big old lump. It is a big old lump of bike. So yeah, fortunately an 800mm seat height, you know, it just means that it's not that difficult to manage, and it handles perfectly as well. The fueling isn't that brilliant at low speed. Someone else said this to me as well, that they've got a 2021 version, I think, and they were complaining about the fueling at, you know, just that low speed stuff around town. The throttle gets really jerky at times. On a bike that's, you know, only costing you 4,500 brand new, you know, what do you expect really? It's not going to be, you know, absolutely perfect in every aspect, is it? You know, the Himalayan is by no means perfect, but the basics of it, the fundamentals of it, and you know, having one and living with it on a daily basis, which is what I do because I commute every day on this bike, it's absolutely fine. It's very easy to live with. It's not a difficult bike. It doesn't complain much. I've ridden worse, let's put it that way. So those of you who've been watching the channel on and off, you will know that I had a chronic vibration on the bike, and I think I've finally located it and sorted it. It was the metal heat shield on the exhaust, on the tailpiece of the exhaust. One of the bolts was missing, and I didn't spot it. It was really difficult to see. Anyway, sorted that, and as far as I can tell, sorted the issue completely. Hopefully. We're just sitting here at the lights. I'm flat-footing the bike at the moment. It doesn't feel heavy at all like this. So there's nothing fancy, as you know. Let's talk about the instrument cluster for a bit. So, you know, just a normal speedo, rev counter, fuel gauge, which is a bit of a random fuel gauge. It will only go for, I think it's it'll use 9 litres. Bear in mind, 15-litre tank. When I get to 9 litres, it turns itself onto reserve. So you know, that is a 6-litre reserve tank that I've got on this bike, just because the fuel gauge is so absolutely pants. It's complete rubbish. It's got a little compass here, which I suppose if you were out somewhere where you weren't familiar and you just wanted to, you know, rather than using the sun and being a bit of a tonto trying to find your way around, it has got that little compass there, which is, I find it quite helpful at times. And then you've got your speedo here with, so there's a temperature gauge there. At the moment it's saying 21 degrees. It is not 21 degrees. Can you see that? 21 degrees. It's not. It's about 11 degrees at the moment. There's a clock at the top which is telling me the wrong time, and I've not worked out yet, because I can't be bothered, how to change the time on that. I will do, and then there's the trip as usual, and a gear indicator on this side, which I love a gear indicator. So you get plenty, you know, all you need basically. This has also been fitted with some auxiliary lights, I'll show you those in a wee while, and heated grips. So the Oxford heated grips, which are brilliant. I've just had to turn them down to 50% because I've got my winter gloves on and it's a little bit warm. So I've fitted, it's a bit ugly down here, I've fitted a double USB so I can drive my phone off it, and I can drive the bar camera there off it as well. So it doesn't have a USB port obviously, but it's not difficult to do. I just cabled that one straight, just directly onto the battery. Works perfectly. It's also, I don't think this comes as standard. I think this has been fitted by the previous owner, which I quite liked, because I sometimes put my little beeline on there. You'll have seen that in previous videos. Really like that. He also put these transfers on it on the tank as well. I'll show you all that in a wee while in more detail, but yeah, let's just have a trundle out Lincolnshire way, and then we'll discuss things in more detail. So ride wise, I find the ride really quite good. The suspension, I mean, it's non-adjustable suspension, but it's been set up slightly on the soft side, so for road riding all round it's pretty good. It does get a little bit trying to find the right term for it, a little bit juddery at time. It's rudimentary suspension, so as you're riding along you might hear from my voice from time to time that my diaphragm's getting bounced simply because of the rudimentary suspension. It's not I've forgotten the word for it now, but it's not absorbing all the shock out of the bumps that you're hitting on the road. But apart from that, it's pretty good. You know, with suspension that you can't adjust, it's quite difficult for manufacturers to hit the right note for, you know, everybody, isn't it? And I suppose I'm sort of Mr. Average. I'm average height, I'm average build, average weight, average everything, and that's sort of what they're aiming to, you know, as the sweet spot, I suppose, for setting everything up. You know, what else can they do? So 21-inch front wheel, as you know, but it doesn't make it feel overly vague on the front end. The bike feels pretty well balanced, and when you do tip into bends, I don't like riding in the wet, to be honest, and these tyres, I'm still sort of trying to understand them. I've felt a little bit of slip in the wet. They're not, you know, they're not 100% brilliant, but I do quite like the tyres, and just a general all-round tyre. It's quite nice now after all that rain, and it's warmer than I thought as well. Maybe the winter gloves and my liner in my jacket was a little bit of overkill. I'd rather be warmer than cold. Looks like the sun might even come out. Don't be stupid, chap, it's not going to do that, is it? Now, one of the things that I find when I'm riding to work in the morning, it's wet, that's, or, you know, coming home, anyway, in the dark, I'll get to that point eventually. I mean in the dark when I'm riding, and it's wet, I can see the rain, all the water flinging off that front tyre at the top of the front tyre there, and it just flings back all over my legs. That, I mean, I wish it got like sort of C90, you know, leg shields or something like that on it, just to stop me getting so damn wet, because honestly my boots they are Gore-Tex boots, but even they've been giving up at times and letting in a little bit of the water, because it's just hammering my legs off the front of the bike. That to me is one of the biggest faults that I can find on the bike. Everything else is manageable, but that bit, that water flinging off the front of the bike as you're riding along when it's wet, it's just bloody awful. So I have to put on my Risha waterproof trousers on top of my Gore-Tex trousers, because these are the old-fashioned, I think it's a Cyclone. So the textile in it just sort of absorbs the water, and then you have to drip dry everything either at work or at home. But really, I do love riding this little bike. I love riding my GS, as you know, but this is just such an engaging little machine. It's fuss free. There's nothing, well, there's nothing much that can go wrong with it. It pulls like a little diesel. It'll go all day. Little donkey, a little diesel donkey. So I went to visit the Newark Air Museum the other day. If anybody follows me on social media, you'll have seen a bunch of photos I took there, so you can follow me on Facebook at Moto Mogul. Yeah, just Moto Mogul, and I'm also on Instagram at Moto Mogul 5. If you want to go and look at those photos, I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was good fun. Yeah, so if anybody's up that way, Newark way, it's well worth a visit. There's 2 indoor hangars as well, which are bloody massive, so if it's teeming down with rain, you can always go in there. And there's a nice little cafe as well, well worth a visit. And the lovely man at the reception took my helmet and stored it behind the counter for me, which is very nice. Thank you very much. They've got volunteers on site as well. Depends on availability for volunteers, whether they're available to go there or not, as to, you know, who you're going to get. But I had a really nice guy called Andy Smith. And if you watch my videos, Andy, thanks very much for showing me around the couple of planes that you showed me around. I'm sorry that I didn't stick around to have a look in the Harrier cockpit like you said you were going to show me, but I couldn't bear that child screaming any longer, and I had to get out of there. So thanks very much anyway, but that was why I didn't stick around. So top speed on this, I mean the book speed is 75. I've had it up to 75. Let's just see if we can get it up there now. Look at that, up past 70. Creeping up, come on, you can do it. It's nearly there, it's nearly there. I don't like riding it at that sort of speed, really. There's just no point. I haven't had it. I didn't get this bike for, you know, its power and its speed and to razz around everywhere like an idiot. 60 miles an hour I find is, you know, totally adequate to get you anywhere. You can go faster if you want. I choose not to. But this bike really is the ideal companion for these kind of roads, really, around Lincolnshire. It's the ideal companion. You can, you know, and I do as well, you know, I do bring the GS into Lincolnshire a lot, but really, it's just nice to come and poodle. It is such a nice thing to be able to just come and poodle. Bugger. So comfort wise, the ergo triangle, my hands, my butt and my feet, really quite comfortable actually. I'm not sure whether this has got angled bar risers on. I think that bit in the middle might be an add-on, just to push the bars sort of up and back towards me a little bit more. I think if the old fella who had it before me did that, then thank you, because it has made it comfortable, more comfortable, I think. So like I said earlier, the bike does have one or two faults with it that I do find a little bit annoying. One of the things that I find really annoying is the headlight. Now it's not its dimness as such. I mean, that is an issue as well, but you can buy aftermarket bulbs and aftermarket light units to put in there. Some of them very difficult to fit by all accounts, but anyway, that's not the issue. The issue for me is the fact that it is non-adjustable and the beam sits way too high. It is way too high. I can only ride with it on dip beam, and I don't understand why they've made that so difficult to adjust. Why can you not adjust the headlight? Does anybody know a workaround? Is there any way that I can alter it to be able to adjust the headlight? Because it just, the amount of people I get flashing me on the roads. I do use the auxiliary lights. I have those on a lot, but I tend to, when someone's coming the other way, I tend to flick those off so it looks like I'm dipping my headlight, but I still get flashed. Now, other things as well. These are tubeless, tube tyres. I mean, they're not tubeless tyres. They do have inner tubes. If I get a puncture, I'm going to be a bit knackered because I haven't got the kit to take that off. Can someone tell me of the best kit that I can buy for changing the tyres? Well, not changing the tyres, but repairing a puncture. Either putting a new tube in or, you know, repairing the tube that's already on it. It's something that I'm not used to. All the bikes that I've had have all been tubeless tyres. Is there, or is this a stupid question, is there a way to make these tyres, make the rims, I mean, tubeless rims, so I can run tubeless tyres on it? Is there a way to do that, or is that just a dumb question and I should shut up? Please let me know. Which are the best tyre irons? I've seen quite a few comments online about tyre irons and, you know, which ones are best, blah de blah, but really, which ones are the best? Because I don't know. Never had them before, so I would like to know that. It does make me feel a bit anxious, actually. I do get puncture anxiety. It has got a nice deep throaty burble to it. When you knock the revs off, you hear that burble. It's just really quite nice, warm burble. Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? It's lovely. I do like that sound. I'm not changing the stock exhaust. I'm going to leave that on. So what are the brakes like? Well, you know, again, single disc on the front, single disc on the rear. They sort of match the power output of the bike, really. Not too bad. We're doing 50 miles an hour now. There's nothing behind. Let's just try that front one. It's cool. It's enough. It's enough. Yeah, it's not brilliant. It's, you know, not got the stopping power of my GS, but it's not bad. The rear, let's just try that. 50 miles an hour. Yeah, again, you know, used in conjunction with the front brake, you have got ample stopping power. There's been a couple of times on the mornings when I'm riding to work when I've had calls to, you know, brake quite sharply. You know, they've been there for me. They've been there for me. They're not bad. Yeah, so as you can see, got to wear these now because that's all wet there. That's dried out a bit, but you can see the filth all down my leg, and you know, the filth on my boots, which I cleaned just before I came out, and it's all because the water comes winging off here and just flicks straight back on either side. It covers everything. It's really, I don't know what to do about that. Is there a fix for that? Let's just show you the lights. I don't think the lights are too bad, other than too high. The beam is too darn high. So they're my little auxiliary lights. And the headlight. The headlight, I just don't know. Is there a way to change that beam so it's just lower? There's no adjustment on it that I can see. Does anybody know of an adjustment that you can make to the headlight? Or when you open the throttle, not a lot happens. Not a lot happens at all. I mean, you don't expect it to. It's you know, it does feel pretty gutless, but you know, we're travelling we're travelling along at 60 miles an hour. You know, it's how fast do you want to go? You know, if I want to go fast, I'll take the GS out. It's got ABS, but traction control is non-existent on it. It doesn't need it. It's pretty gutless. I'll go through the facts and figures with it in a little while when I do a walk around on it, but you don't really need traction control on a bike like this. But I think riding through the winter like this, it makes you a better rider. I've noticed that I try to smooth everything out a lot more. Riding the GS in the summer, you know, on dry summer roads, it is so forgiving. It is so forgiving because you can get away with so much. Riding this in the winter, it's going to be less forgiving, I think. Fortunately, it's got less power, so there's less to worry about. The sun's trying to break out. It's got less power. There's less to worry about with it. But I do find it's making me a better, smoother rider. You know, being smoother on the throttle, softer on the brakes. Yeah, I just think that I think everybody should ride into the winter. So there he is then, Jimmy the Himmy. What a cracking little bike this is. Do love it. So this is in this is granite black, I believe, this colour, and it has got these things on. I quite like them at times, and then at other times I don't like them. I would definitely keep those knee ones on, just so it doesn't get horribly scratched from dirt and grit and stuff. It's also got this this hugger on the rear as well. It's a hugger chain guard together. It works really well. Pyramid Plastics one. I think they're about 80 quid online. Seems to do the trick. Not bad at all. Let me just show you the exhaust. So that's so it was that one that was missing. Ouch, hot, of course. So it's that one that was missing, and the heat shield was making a right racket, but I couldn't see it because it was underneath the foot peg. I couldn't see it that well. So I've stuck another one in, and that horrible vibration has gone away. It's also got an additional heel guard. I think they're available online, about 20 or 30 quid, I believe, and also obviously the crash bars. And as I said earlier, the biggest problem with this is the water just flinging off the front of there. It just flings off and goes straight round the side and hits you in the legs, and it's just makes your shoes and trousers absolutely filthy. Look at that. Still not a lot I can do about that other than dress accordingly. This one's also got the hand guards fitted and these auxiliary spotlights, so they're just operated off this little switch here, just a simple rocker switch, and that's what they look like. They're pretty good. They're very effective. They don't look much, but they're very effective in the dark. So that engine then, not the most powerful single cylinder engine you're ever going to see. 24 horsepower, 410cc single cylinder, 75 miles per hour. That's what you're going to get out of it. 23.6 foot-pounds of torque, which, you know, for what I want this bike for and for what I do with it, it's absolutely adequate. So it's a single cylinder, 4-stroke, air-cooled, single overhead cam, fuel injected. It is fuel injected. I did think it had a carb on it at first because it's got a choke. That is a choke. So it's just for, you know, when the engine's cold, it does just make the mixture a little bit richer through the fuel injection. I mean, why it's not set up to do that, I really don't know. I don't know enough about that sort of thing to tell you about it. So frame type, half duplex split cradle frame. Fuel capacity 15 litres, seat height 800 millimetres, and this does say 185 kilos maximum weight, but I think it's 199 wet weight. So telescopic 41 millimetre forks, and it's like I said about the suspension, it's adequate. It is adequate. I would just say the paint isn't that brilliant on the forks. You see that flaking off there? It's all lifting all around the top here, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that yet. And it's only going to get worse through the winter. And then the rear is a monoshock. Don't know if you can see that down there. So monoshock with 180 millimeters of wheel travel. On the front, 300 millimeter disc with 2 piston floating caliper. On the rear there we've got 240 millimeter disc, single piston floating caliper, 21 inch front wheel and a 17 inch rear wheel. It's pretty basic as bikes go, but I love the little monster. I love it. I do. It's just such a good, fun little machine, and it's the antidote to horsepower. It's good fun. Let's show you the dashboard. Like I was saying earlier, the fuel gauge is a little bit odd, to say the least. It will tell you that the bike is empty when you've only used 9 litres, 9.5 litres of fuel. Yeah, not that brilliant. Little compass there, rev counter, obvious engine lights. We've got a mode button which will cycle you through your different options. There is damp in there already. Oh, it's the other end of like the luxury level, isn't it? So gear indicator, time, that is the wrong time. I've not bothered setting that yet. Temperature. So this is supposed to be ambient temperature. It is all over the place. It really is all over the place. So 21 degrees it certainly isn't today. It is quite mild now though, but it ain't 21 degrees. Miles, total miles 2007 now, and I've done 1066.7 miles up to now. So the heated grips, I didn't put these on, these were already on. Work brilliantly, really chuffed with those. I added this, so this is just a 2-plug USB. Got a bit dirty this afternoon. Gears, 5 gears. Yeah, it's basic. It's very, very basic. Oil cooler there. And like I was saying about this headlight, non-adjustable. And I mean, it's not that bright, but when it's shining directly at driver's eye level, coming the opposite direction, people do get upset about it, which is entirely understandable. Indicators, just, you know, box standard indicators, work fine. They do exactly what it says on the tin, and just standard style brake light. These are Pirellis. These are just the OEM Pirellis. Quite happy with them. Could be better, but mostly they seem to handle more or less everything. So, you know, they're just going to stay on. Yeah, that's her. Let's get back on, ride her a bit more. I love riding around this county. I've never been down this road before. There's just so many little nooks and crannies that I've never discovered yet. So let's head home for the standard cup of tea. Hope you've enjoyed this little video out into Lincolnshire. Bit of a review on Jimmy the Himmy. Like I say, and I keep saying it, it's a great little bike. I'm really pleased that this is in my garage. Yeah, there are better bikes out there, and there are bikes that I did consider, you know, like the CRF 250 or 300, but they're just too expensive, and I can't really do all of the servicing myself. So my plan is to do everything on this bike, including valve clearances as well. So literally everything I'm going to do, or attempt to do. I'll see you on the next video, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Give it a thumbs up, give it a subscribe if you liked it, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now, folks.